what's good about it is it brings out the best in an instructor, because the instructor now really has to get that student through the test.
Hey there! Enjoying this content? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on more informative content like this. Now let's get back to the lesson.
Let me talk to you about a guaranteed pass course. Now, the mistake that a lot of people make with a guaranteed pass course. So the problem that you have with a guaranteed pass course is that you get a lot of people who actually will try and think that this is one of those things where you don't have to do the job. You are just going to get there, you're going to give me so many £1,000 or whatever, and the next thing you know, you're going to have a license. We don't participate in that. We don't do that. There are situations where we know in the past this has happened, is where people get somebody else to do their test for them. I think that is extremely dangerous. It is very, very dangerous for the instructor taking those people to the test. It is also extremely, extremely dangerous for the person who then has a license and they haven't been properly trained. And that makes it dangerous for all of us on the road, for us as well, for us as instructors. So what you have to understand is this guaranteed pass course is not for the faint-hearted. Why do I say that? I say that because you need to have the guts to do it. That's the first thing. And then when you do it, it is intense. It is an intense course. It's an intensive course. And there is a participation from both the instructor and the student to get through the guaranteed pass course. But it's a good course because it is a fixed amount of work that has to be done to get the student ready for the driving test. And what's good about it is it brings out the best in an instructor, because the instructor now really has to get that student through the test, or get the student ready for the test. Things go wrong in the test, they might fail, and then there'll be another test. But that's the way the guaranteed pass course works. Okay, why should you consider the guaranteed pass course is what we'll talk about tonight. We'll also talk about how this is actually a faster way of doing it, because the instructor wants you to get through the course as quickly as possible, and that's it. Okay, why attend this webinar tonight? Again, we want you to know by the end of tonight what a guaranteed pass course is about, how it can save you money. It saves you money and time, and why it is good to engage in it, and understand why this course is the best decision for your driving. It's a very good decision for your driving success, but it is going to happen quicker, and there is a certain obligation on the student as well to participate in the actual learning process. In other words, to apply themselves to the learning process. And we have a special offer for the guys who are attending this evening, and I'll tell you about that afterward. All right, it's designed with tailored lesson plans. It is only our best instructors who can do this, and normally it includes up to 5 driving tests, and there's no limit on the number of lessons until you pass. So it is, if you ask an instructor and he's telling you he's got a guaranteed pass course for you, and you say to him, listen, how many lessons is your guaranteed pass course? And he gives you an answer, he does not know what a guaranteed pass course is about. The answer he should give you is until you pass. As many lessons as you need until you pass. Because that's the principle of the guaranteed pass course. You are buying a course which will take you to the driving test until you pass. And that guarantee is that you will have at least 5 tests. Now, in all the time that I have been doing the guaranteed pass course, I've only ever had one person get to the 5 tests. And what we did to keep the record clear is we gave that person a 6th test, and they passed their driving test on the 6th test without any additional obligation, because we want to keep it clean. The only other time the guaranteed pass course has failed is when somebody had to move away, and what we do then is we convert it to an intensive driving course, and the balance amount that was still due on the account was applied to a new intensive course for the student in the area they moved to. We've had another case where the person's mother died in India. They came from India originally, were here studying. They paid for guaranteed pass course after the evaluation. And what happened was the mother had died, and they needed to go back to India at that stage. And they came to us and said they need the funds to go back to India. And we decided to simply top up the doc, in other words, do the bill up to this stage on the amount of lessons they'd done, and the balance we refunded. So yes, you paid it and you lose it. We don't do that. If you want to pay a guaranteed pass course, the only time you have to have a very good reason to bail on a guaranteed pass course. And normally, people who do the guaranteed pass course, you can go back and look at the reviews, will say to you it's the best decision they've ever made, because they don't need to worry about how many lessons they're doing. They don't have to worry about how many tests they're doing. They don't have to worry about booking tests. They've got all those things are taken care of. Okay, so it's no limit of lessons until you pass. Okay, why should you consider the guaranteed pass course? The reason you should consider the guaranteed pass course is it's fast track. You will save time on lessons and test bookings. It's cost effective in many ways because the onus to get you through the test is higher. It is relatively stress-free because it ensures a certain amount of peace of mind around the financial side of it, because you've paid it all in one lump sum and you gain the skills to master your test. The thing with the guaranteed pass course is the instructor does not want to take you to the test unless you are ready to pass the test, because for him to get you into a sequence of failure is not good for him. Now, when you do the evaluation, the instructor will decide what your learning rate is. Guys, and this is very, very real. I don't believe in 1 hour sessions. I think 1 hour sessions cost you a lot of money. And I keep saying this to people, please try and avoid 1 hour sessions. If a 2 hour session is difficult for you, then at least do a 1.5 hour session. But don't do a 1 hour session unless you have a real medical reason to do 1 hour sessions. Let me explain this to you. This is really interesting. When you do a 1 hour driving session, it normally, under any circumstances, it takes between 10 and 15 minutes for the lesson to actually take shape and start. The instructor is trying to find out where you are, you're getting comfortable, you're talking, you're getting in the car, you're moving mirrors, you're doing all these other things. You're going to be around 10 to 15 minutes, maybe even 20 minutes before you get going. So let's call it 15 minutes. Now the real learning starts after that initial period. So there's what that's called a lead-in time. So now any task, if you're busy with a task, you normally have 10 to 15 minute lead-in time. Then you do the task, so that's the task time. And then you have a 10 to 15 minute lead-out time, because the instructor's got to take you back, he's got to drop you off, you've got to get out of the car, you've got to get your jacket, you've got to remember your phone, all these other things are happening. And he's got to write up the lesson or book the next session, whatever it is. So you're going to have 15 to 20 minutes lead in and 15 to 20 minutes lead out. That's, conservatively speaking, half an hour to 40 minutes lost out of a 1 hour lesson. Now, when you put 2 hours in there, the effectiveness becomes much more, because that central hour is now effective learning time. Now you get 1.5 hours against the 20 to 40 minutes lead in and lead out time, which means it's much more effective. It's 3 times more effective to do a 2 hour session than it is to do a 1 hour session. 3 times. It's 3 times as effective to do a 2 hour session as opposed to a 1 hour session. And that's why people often end up with 60 to 80 hours of driving lessons before they are ready for their tests, because they've got this ineffective time around the lead in and lead out because they're only doing 1 hour lessons. So guys, if you're doing 1 hour lessons, stop them. Okay, why trust Chris Creel? Okay, I've done guaranteed pass courses forever. I've had up to 18 consecutive passes with students In other words, 18 consecutive passes in a row. My pass rate with the students are around 90 to 95%. A student doesn't leave me until they pass. That's what I'm talking about. But probably my only pass rate is probably around 75 to 80%. That's the right place to be, because sometimes a student takes a little bit longer. Now let's just talk about the guaranteed pass course, the actual way this thing is set up. The way I like to do this is you give us a call, and if you haven't driven for a while, we will set up for you a orientation. So we call it an orientation lesson. You don't want to be doing your evaluation on the first 2 hours. However, if you've driven recently, we would do a evaluation on the first 2 hours. But normally I like to, let's do an orientation, see where you are for 2 hours, and then get you in maybe a couple of days later or 2 or 3 days later, and then do the evaluation to see where you are. Now, in that, we check your rate of learning, what you know, what you don't know, what you still have to learn, and your retention and your dexterity. There's all sorts of things that make up that decision-making process, which we work with you while we're doing it, and we will afterwards give you a report. Now, once we've done the evaluation, you will get a report, and you will get 2 prizes. One will be, you will receive an evaluation report, and one of the prizes will be for the guaranteed pass course, which will be unlimited lessons until you pass, subject to the 5 tests maximum, or a normal intensive course, fixed number of lessons with no guarantee, or guarantee under support for the actual pass. You choose your course. That's the next thing you do. You decide whether you want to take the guaranteed pass course, which is just, there's no breakdown in how it's put together. You simply see a figure. So for a guaranteed pass course, you might get a figure of £400, and that includes everything. That's it. That's your guaranteed pass course. There's no breakdown of that. If you do a normal intensive course, that might be £350 or £200. You must then decide, do you want to take the guaranteed pass course, or do you take the normal intensive course? If you take the guaranteed pass course, we sign a formal agreement with you, and it is between the company, BDS London, the guaranteed pass instructor, and you, the client. It's a tripartite agreement that we sign with you. And there are terms and conditions of what the company has to do, what the instructor has to do, and what you need to do to facilitate the guaranteed pass course. Guys, you're not going to get it for free. You need to do some work, because you've got to get ready to pass the test. Now, here's a comparison. You can see, if you look at lesson flexibility, it's the same for both a normal course and a guaranteed pass course. Unlimited lessons is on the guaranteed pass course, not on the intensive course. You have 5 tests. You only have 1 test in the normal intensive course. Fast track test booking, well, we find tests all the time. That's what we're really good at. Yolanda and her team are absolutely amazing, and they work really hard to find you guys tests. And then tailored support and resources. There are more resources on the guaranteed pass course, because you need more resources for a guaranteed pass course. Okay, and then a lot of, I would say the most interesting sort of comments I normally hear from people on guaranteed pass courses is, and I've heard this a lot, I know, now I know why I did it, and I would never take it back, because it just settled the whole thing for me. It was a good way of doing this. Driving, because I don't need to worry about it, and I would not do it any other way if I had to do it again. And here we just got a couple of comments. I passed my first attempt thanks to guaranteed pass course. Well, you can do that on intensive courses as well, because we really do work hard at getting you through your driving test.
So, Chris,
just speak up, sweetie,
okay,
please.
It is not just intensive driving courses or guaranteed pass courses. You are not only going to pass if you do a guaranteed pass course. The procedure is different, but our aim, whatever you do, is we want you to pass, and we will do whatever we possibly can to assist you to accomplish that.
Okay, yeah, we'll provide whatever resources and support we can. And then the next one was the tailored lessons and extra test attempts gave me confidence, and finally my license. And if anybody's interested, we can send them lots of reviews. Okay, so to sign up for that, you can register. Here is the registration link, and then the information on the course, the full information on the course is there. Okay, so the cost for the guaranteed pass course will depend on your evaluation. So it's very difficult. It's anything from £500 to £1,800, sort of as an average. It depends where you are with your driving, how nervous you are, how quickly you learn, how many lessons you're going to need, all those sort of things, and what a full risk assessment as far as actual tests are concerned. But all of that, you see, that's why you say, how much does it cost? If you've been driving for 10 years and you've got a lot of experience, which a lot of people actually come to us who need their driving licenses really urgently, would rather do a guaranteed pass course because it is a better way of getting your license and getting it quickly, because it is an intense course. It's a very intensive course. They might end up with £600 or £700 because they're already a proficient driver. But if you haven't done much driving and you're at 15 or 20 hours, it might cost you a little bit more. It might be 1,300, 1,600. If you come to us and you've never driven, we'll still do an evaluation with you to check your dexterity and everything, and we'll give you a price. But my recommendation for people is do about 15 hours of driving before you actually go for the guaranteed pass course, because that reduces the risk and the cost.
Thank you for watching. If you're enjoying this video and want to see more, head over to www.bds.ac, our interactive video e-learning platform. With BDS Academy, you can learn to drive online from the comfort of your home at your own pace, saving you both time and money. So, what are you waiting for? Visit www.bds.ac today. We'll see you there.